lives. We here in California felt like he belonged to us too. And probably his most dear partner in crime and just endless companion, organizer of countless musical events and others involving Roland, and allowing us to commune with him so much, was Russ de Angelo, and I would love to bring him to the stage to say a few words as well.
I'd like to thank the GFA for bestowing this honor on Roland and giving me the opportunity to share insights about Roland. For over 13 years, I was Roland's manager for North America and the United Kingdom. But more importantly, we were always friends first and business partners second. I met Roland in January of 2013, and over the next 13 years, I was able to share his musical genius with countless people in Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and of course, the United States. Every year I scheduled a long September to October North American tour, and I would travel with Roland. This became the highlight of the year for me. We were like two high school kids giggling for 2 months. Someone recently pointed out that I saw Roland perform more than anyone ever. And I started thinking about that, and I saw Roland give more than 100 concerts and conduct more than 100 master classes. Seeing Roland perform was a master class. He was often described as a triple threat musician, a composer, a performer, and an improviser. But first and foremost, Roland Dyens was a performer. He loved communicating through his music, and he cherished his audiences. Any of you that saw him perform know that. He never used a written program, and he was the master of improvisation. He always opened his concerts with a spontaneously improvised piece, and then announced the following pieces from the stage. Roland Dyens was the embodiment of music. Wherever he was always thinking about his latest composition or arrangement. He preferred to compose in the various green rooms as he toured around the world. And Roland was an old school composer, just a pencil and some lined paper. Roland loved words, as Elena just explained, and he spoke 6 languages fluently. He was especially interested in American slang, and so Roland would teach me some French, and I would teach him some slang. Once, while traveling, he heard the phrase, "easy as pie," and "a piece of cake." He asked me about it. "What is this about?" And I said, I explained it. But he would say, "It's easy as cake, and it's a piece of pie." And then Roland asked me, he said, "Russ, why is this like this?" He says, "Good pastry is not easy." Roland liked to say to people, "I speak 5.5 languages." And then he'd wait for them to ask the obvious question, "What's the half?" And slyly, in his deep French voice, he'd say, "Well, I speak a little French." I quickly learned that anything Roland said regarding music, anything, was 100% accurate and true. Sometimes he would play his latest piece for me over the telephone, me in California and Roland in Paris. One time I played a piece for him. It was a Tchaikovsky piece. It was a long piece. And when I finished, Roland complimented me. Roland was always generous and supportive of students. But he said, "You know, Russ, you missed an open B string in the third measure." And I looked at the score. There was no B string. And I said, "Oh, Roland, there's no B string here, a B note here." And he confidently, immediately said, "Well, then it's a mistake in the score." And to this day, every time I see the music for that piece, I immediately go to the third measure, and every time that B note is there. When I would visit Roland in Paris, he would make reservations at the finest restaurants in the world. You know you're at a five-star restaurant when they have a pre-appetizer appetizer and a pre-dessert dessert. And when you drop your fork off the table, they'd catch it before it hits the ground. But when I brought him to the United States, especially the West Coast, he would want me to take him to In-N-Out Burger. The fact that this famous Frenchman would love to eat In-N-Out burgers quickly spread through the West Coast guitar world. And whenever we did afternoon master classes, they wouldn't even have to ask what we wanted for lunch. Roland wanted a double-double with animal fries. One aspect of Roland that few people really realize was exactly how prolific he really was. He composed hundreds upon hundreds of new compositions for our instrument and hundreds arrangements for our instrument. Over the years, I negotiated a lot of commissions for Roland, and he always insisted he needed 6 months to deliver the final score. But he would always wait to the last week or two to even begin the first note. That was just his process. He wanted to put pressure on himself and get his creative juices flowing. And it worked every single time. Sony Music recently commissioned Roland to arrange 10 pieces of Astor Piazzolla. They were due in late 2016. True to form, Roland waited until the last minute to begin. This would be the last music Roland Dyens created for us. He finished these arrangements a few weeks before he passed away. Roland Dyens lived 61 years and 10 days. He left us way too soon, but he packed so much life into those 61 years and 10 days. Roland touched many, many people all over the world. I was fortunate to have known Roland Dyens and be his close friend for over 13 years. He was fun-loving, approachable, and was very generous with his time. A musical genius like a Roland Dyens comes around once in a lifetime, if we're lucky. His death was a shock to all of his fans and guitarists around the world. I lost my dear friend, but our instrument lost one of its shining beacons. But we all can take comfort in knowing that his music will live on forever.